Thank you very much for joining us today. This is the final of 3 Blue Economy virtual information sessions. It's great to see so many of you here with us today, and we hope that you do find this session informative. To introduce myself, my name is Sally Rouse and I will be leading the session today. I'm one of the unit heads within the Blue Economy team. And just before we begin, I just wanted to inform everybody that we are recording today's session, and that's just so we can make it available to others afterwards who haven't been able to make one of these sessions. Okay, before I come on to the details of the Blue Economy, I just wanted to begin with a brief introduction to Marine Scotland for those of you that are not familiar with us. Marine Scotland is a directorate of the Scottish Government that is responsible for the integrated management of Scotland's seas. Our purpose is to manage Scotland's seas for prosperity and environmental sustainability. In doing that, we are made up of a number of divisions that help us fulfil that function, and those divisions include our Planning and Policy Division, our Science Division, our Sea Fisheries Division, amongst several others. So Marine Scotland works closely across other government directorates, including those with responsibility for energy, transport, tourism and the environment, and we also work in partnership with lots of statutory consultation bodies and delivery partners such as Nature Scot, the Scottish Environment Protection Agency, and we also work with our wider stakeholders, including sector and community representatives. So Marine Scotland is the directorate that's leading the Scottish Government's Blue Economy work. However, our delivery is being supported right across the government wherever we've got marine interest. So that does include tourism, energy, food and drink, and in particular, we are co-developing the work with Transport Scotland to incorporate maritime aspects of the Blue Economy. Okay, so on to today's session. So the purpose of today's session is to share in more detail with you information on the Blue Economy Vision for Scotland, which we recently published, and to provide you all with a bit of an overview of how we are moving from vision to delivery. So the session will cover 4 parts, beginning with the need for change and what the Blue Economy is. Then coming on to the Scottish Government's vision and outcomes for our Blue Economy, and finishing with how we are putting the Blue Economy into action. So in part 4, I'll hand back to Caroline, and she's going to talk us through how the Scottish Government is looking to embed Blue Economy in marine planning, and talk a little bit more in detail about National Marine Plan. So given the number of participants that we had registered for the call, we plan to use some interactive polls during the session, and we'll have a mechanism after the session today that I'll outline later for feedback rather than having a sort of live Q&A today. So just to make you all aware, for the interactive poll, they are entirely anonymous, so there's no names recorded on the answers, so please do feel free to put your answers into them. Okay, so on to part 1, and begin by outlining why the Scottish Government believes that we need a Blue Economy vision for Scotland. As many of you will be aware, we have a substantial and growing evidence base on the importance of our seas and the role that they play both in supporting our people and also in our planet. We know that the opportunities and benefits provided by marine resources span a full spectrum of contributions to livelihoods and well-being, to providing us with food and energy, and also in supporting us in reaching net zero. We also know that there's increasing recognition of these roles and contribution from our marine environment on both a global scale and within our local communities. We know, and especially today, that Scotland, like other nations, is facing the twin crises of climate change and loss of nature and biodiversity. And the latest scientific evidence from the IPCC suggests that the world may be approaching a tipping point for climate. On top of the climate and nature aspects, we've all, of course, just lived through and are continuing to live through the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and withdrawal from the EU, both of which have significantly impacted our marine industries and coastal communities. And at the same time as all of that, we are seeing this increasing demand and competition for space in our marine environment through transport, food, and energy. So we believe that there's a clear rationale for us to do more, to take coordinated action that drives forward a transformative change and enables sustainable management of our coasts and seas, and helps to deliver the benefits of our marine environment to the people of Scotland. So to provide a little more detail on the Scottish marine context, Scotland's seas have a wealth of marine resources within our EEZ, within our exclusive economic zone, and that exclusive economic zone covers 462,000 square kilometres, and the economic activity within that area equates to £5.1 billion to the Scottish economy if we think of the marine economy without oil and gas, and if you include oil and gas in that figure, that contribution rises to £14.7 billion. We also know that the Scottish environment supports more than 46,000 species and stores the equivalent of 9,000 megatons of carbon dioxide for us. And it also provides multiple benefits to people's personal, physical, and mental well-being. However, we do know from Scotland's marine assessment that was undertaken in 2020 that there are a range of pressures faced by our marine environment from human activities, including climate change. And we know that while we have made some progress, 11 out of 15 indicators for good environmental status have not been achieved by 2020. And that puts at risk the long-term sustainability of those benefits that we derive from the ocean. So alongside that context, the strategic and policy environment in which marine management takes place has also changed, most notably that the withdrawal from the EU, which influenced and directed a lot of our approach to marine management, but also the signing of the Butte House Agreement between the SNP and the Green Party includes a number of sort of notable commitments, including the introduction of highly protected marine areas in Scottish waters. So those drivers of change and that new strategic context create a window of opportunity, as well as a pressing challenge to transform the way that we use our seas so that we can maximise those benefits to all of society and use our oceans to really solve our national and international challenges on the climate front. So our response to this window of opportunity and those pressing challenges is our blue economy vision and the subsequent delivery that will come underneath that. So before I outline in a bit more detail how the Scottish Government has approached the blue economy within the Scottish context, I wanted to come to our audience here today and explore the familiarity and understanding of the term blue economy and people's views of what it should encompass. So to do that, I've got two questions on the interactive poll that I will launch. So the first one should appear on your screen shortly. And this is simply, we'd like to ask you if you know what the term blue economy means. So hopefully that has appeared on your screen, and if you able to answer that would be fantastic. I'll just give people 60 seconds or so and see a few responses coming in. Okay. So hopefully the results should appear on your screen now. So we have, similar to our other two sessions we've had actually a majority of our audience feel happy that they do know what the term blue economy means. No one is coming to this completely cold with no understanding, and some of our audience with a partial understanding of what the blue economy means. Okay, well, thank you very much for your response there. And then the second question we'd like to put to you is, in your view, what are the most important goals for the blue economy? Are they environmental goals, societal goals, or economical goals, or are they all three of that? And I'll just give everyone another minute to answer that. Okay, thank you. And that's very, very similar to our previous two sessions. So we have a majority of our audience believe that the blue economy should tackle the spectrum of goals across environmental, societal, and economical, with a smaller proportion believing that the environmental goals are the most important of the blue economy. Okay, well, thank you very much for those two questions there. That's really useful to understand the insight and where our audience sits within the blue economy space. So coming on to then what the blue economy does mean and how we have interpreted that in the Scottish context. And the first thing to say really is that there doesn't actually exist a single global definition of what the blue economy is or what the blue economy approach is. And it is used in different ways by different parties. So for some, the term is applied in a sense that is much more aligned with a traditional interpretation of the word economy. So thinking about industry and businesses and how to stimulate growth and economic prosperity. But we do find that for the majority of nations that are looking to implement blue economy strategies and approaches, the term does have that more holistic interpretation, recognising that we should advance environmental, economical and societal components of the system, which is very much in line with what we've just seen from the group that's on the call today. So what that lack of definition does mean, though, is that each nation or party that's developing a blue economy approach and strategy does have to go through a process of defining what the term means for them. And within Marine Scotland and the wider Scottish Government, we've started on this process, and the way that we've done it is to draw on some international learning from the UN and the EU in particular, but also the World Bank, and considered those definitions and framing alongside the unique challenges and heritage of the marine environment in the Scottish context, and use that to develop a vision and a series of outcomes that the Scottish Government set out in a recent publication, which outlines our ambition for the blue economy. And within that publication, we have a vision statement that says by 2045, shared stewardship of our marine environment supports ecosystem health, improved livelihoods, economic prosperity, social inclusion and well-being. And that vision really draws on the comprehensive Treasury review on the economics of biodiversity that calls on us to understand and accept that our economies are embedded within nature and not external to it. And this framing really heralds a kind of fundamental change in the way that we need to manage our marine resources, but also in the way that we need to measure success of our marine environment, of our marine sectors. And the vision looks to move us beyond traditional thinking that sets out that there must be a choice or a trade-off between ocean protection and production, but recognises that in reality we need the two to go together. So the vision statement itself is supported by 6 outcomes that span environmental, economical and societal goals. For each of the outcomes, we've mapped them onto UN Sustainability Development Goals and also to the Scotland's National Performance Framework. So I'll talk through the outcomes now, but they're not in any particular order, but I inevitably have to present some of them first and some of them last, but there's no sense of priority amongst our outcomes. So the first outcome that I will share is one of our environmental outcomes, and that is that Scotland's marine ecosystems are healthy and functioning with nature protected and activities managed using an ecosystem approach to ensure negative impacts are minimised and where possible reversed. This outcome also incorporates having new decision-making tools available to us to measure both the social and economical value of marine natural capital. The next outcome I'll come to is one of our economic outcomes, and that is that established and emerging marine sectors are innovative, entrepreneurial, productive and internationally competitive. And what that means is that our sectors are underpinned by a secure skills base, and they're investing in the Scottish supply chain and wider community benefits. And we also have a diverse range of metrics for measuring economic performance to inform our decision making. We'll come to one of our 2 societal outcomes next, and that is that we have thriving, resilient, regenerated, healthy communities that have more equal access to the benefits that ocean resources provide. The physical physical health, mental health and well-being benefits from our marine environments are being equitably accessed and enjoyed, and everyone can fairly access training and employment opportunities for jobs within the marine sectors. Our second environmental outcome that's set out in our recent publication is that Scotland's blue economy is resilient to climate change. It's contributing to climate change mitigation and adaptation, with our marine sectors decarbonised, resource efficient and supporting Scotland's net zero and nature positive commitments. And that will importantly be through the development of the offshore energy sector, and also that we have decarbonised supply chains that are applying circular economy principles. So our second economic outcome focuses on food security and nutrition, and that is that Scotland is a global leader in healthy, quality, sustainably harvested marine foods for our own population, but also for those in other countries. And part of this outcome is around ensuring our global reputation and success of our blue food industry. Our final societal outcome is that Scotland is an ocean literate and aware nation, and that means that people have access to knowledge and learning about the ocean, and they are empowered to meaningfully participate in governance and decision-making forums about Scotland's seas, and also they're able to make informed consumer choices that support sustainable use of our marine resources. So within the vision document, we have defined Scotland's blue economy as encompassing all the relevant components linked with the marine environment. So that's the full suite of sectors that operate in or around our seas, which you can see in the figure on the left there. But we also define the blue economy as including natural habitats and species, the people that use and benefit from marine resources, as well as the relevant legislation, policy programmes and international commitments, and also the scientific research that enables our evidence-informed policy, but also allows us to evaluate our success of our blue economy approach in the long term. And we believe that defining Scotland's blue economy in this broad sense, its holistic sense, covering all sectors as well as the physical and environment and our societies, really helps to illustrate that the blue economy includes a range of interconnected policies and activities, and it helps us work right across the Scottish Government and with external partners where there are marine interests to ensure internal policy coherence and a kind of joined up framework externally. So that's hopefully given you a good bit of information in terms of what was in the vision and our outcomes. That vision was published just at the beginning of April. And since April, we've been moving from vision to delivery. And as we move into delivery, that's really where the policy coherence that I talked about will be realised by the vision providing that strategic direction to forthcoming policies and plans. We have already started on that process, and we are looking to align our current work to embed a blue economy approach, for example, through marine planning, which Caroline will come to talk about in a little bit further detail. But the Scottish Government sort of setting out their ambition for the blue economy, and our vision is very much the start of this process, and we will need to work across our stakeholder and research networks to collectively find the tools and the solutions that are going to help support transformation. So today's session is the first step in that process to get some information out to our stakeholders and our communities, and to get some information back from you from our surveys at the end, so that we can help use that to shape and plan engagements going forward. So the Blue Economy Vision is a multi-decadal strategic document. It does take us right up until 2045. And that does mean that in some cases, identifying and developing the right enablers, the right tools, the right interventions and levers will take time to develop them, as some of the aspects will need us to think about things in a new way, break new ground. and really drive that transformation. But we do expect, and we know that there will be some priority actions that we can front load to help us move towards those outcomes and that vision. And one area in particular where we know we will need development is in those decision-making tools that really allow us to consider the spectrum and the balance across those economic, social and environmental interests. And one approach to this that we're certainly considering would be the wider use of natural capital assessments in policy development and implementation. And that would really bring marine decision-making tools in line with those that exist for terrestrial systems, where we have a natural capital asset index that tracks changes in the capacity of Scotland's terrestrial ecosystems to provide benefits to people. And taking that natural capital approach puts our environmental and societal issues on a more balanced footing when weighed up against the purely commercial consideration. And we believe that it can help strengthen a shared stewardship approach to the management of marine ecosystems. So I'll leave Caroline to talk in a little more detail about areas we're currently working on, including marine planning and how we can look to align that with our blue economy. We similarly have the Future Fisheries Management Strategy, which will be a cornerstone of our blue economy approach. And the strategy sets out areas of work and also some front-loaded actions, which should have significant benefits and improvements in the way in which we tackle some of our most difficult fisheries challenges. And the final part of the talk here that I want to cover is to set out the immediate next steps in our process, which is firstly to gather some feedback from those participants that have joined our virtual sessions on what your views are on those key building blocks for a blue economy action plan, and also your preferences for engagement and participation in taking this forward and developing what our priority actions should be. So we're going to send up a follow-up survey via email to all of those that have registered for the virtual information session, so this one and our previous two. We'll hope to get that out as soon as possible this week, and we'll use that feedback that we gather from everyone to inform our next stages of engagement and how we look to take the delivery and the action underneath the vision going forward. The other work that we are progressing in tandem with that is a baseline assessment of our blue economy, and that's really to understand where our gaps are. And that draws heavily, obviously, on the Scottish Marine assessment, but we've supplemented that with a range of other sources to help us fill in the bits around ocean literacy, the economics, the social side, and figure out where our gaps are in terms of reaching our outcomes and our vision. We are, alongside that, considering what indicators we have and what indicators we might need to measure progress and track delivery against our outcomes, but also how the blue economy is supporting and delivering on the National Performance Framework and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we're intending to publish a collation of those sort of first 3 points in a document this autumn. And that document will also set out the sequencing and phasing of future blue economy work on our programme up to 2045. So that brings us to my very final slide, which is just to say thank you very much for your time today and your continued engagement in the blue economy work. Our vision document is available online. The link is for you there. But if you just Google it, it'll also come up. There are a number of explainer videos available on Marine Scotland's YouTube channel. And as I already just said there, we'll be sending a follow-up survey after today's session, which is the final session. So please do look out for that in your email and return it to us. We'll give you, I think, about 10 days to get that back to us. So just to finish with, I just want to run one final poll with our participants, and that is simply to ask the same question that we started with at the start, which is, do you know what the blue economy term means? And hopefully, if we have explained ourselves, we might see some movement between that somewhat category and that yes category. Okay, I think that's the final questions that have gone. final responses, sorry, that will come in. So I'll just close that off. Okay, hopefully the results are coming up on your screen. So I can see that we have increased the number of people that said yes from 78 to 86, but we have unfortunately perhaps made it a little less clear to others who've moved from the somewhat category to the no category. So I would encourage you to please look at our explainer videos and our vision if you want some more details, and we'll look to try and get more information on what the blue economy means and how this is going to embed our approach in our September publication. Okay, with that, I'm going to draw the session to a close. So thank you very much all for your for joining us today and for your participation in the polls. Please look out for that feedback survey, and we look forward to speaking with you soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.